But we thought we'll make some more sense out of this about how US and Singapore could work more together. We had very interesting discussion since yesterday about the new world order, global South-South collaboration, about US-Singapore collaboration, irrespective of what the government is. And for that, I would like to invite the last session to conclude the summit and its lessons and its learning. We have Vivek, our CEO for the Singapore office, hosting Nick Sekron, our Chief Conservation Officer of the US office, in conversation to demystify the summit of this year. Welcome on stage, Vivek and Nick.
Day. So Nick and I have decided we are going to be standing here in solidarity to keep up the energy. And we believe this is quite an important way to wrap it up. So Nick, maybe I'll ask you in a minute, what are some of the takeaways that you had from this amazing day from 9 a.m. this morning?
Well, many, many takeaways. But Paul made a comment this morning which had a lot of resonance with me. He said the following: there is no business case for runaway poverty. There is no business case for enduring climate change, and there is no business case for destroying nature, which means, of course, there is a business case for alleviating poverty, there is a business case for tackling the climate crisis, and there is a business case for protecting nature. And that gives me a lot of hope. What about you?
Well, I have to say my takeaway is from the conversation that our chairman Fua had with Paul. And one thing that has struck me is when he's reading, working in WWF, and Nick, I'm sure you can relate to it. There are often difficult days, and there are often days when you feel like, oh my God, this is just too difficult. Why are we even trying? The scale of the challenges we face, and I have had my colleagues tell me, why are we even trying? Doesn't it seem too big for us to tackle? And then he said something in the fireside chat, just resonated with me. Which bedtime story have you ever heard where the heroine or the hero gives up at the end? And that gives me that courage to say, no, we have got to stay the path and we have got to keep going. So if there is one takeaway for me, and for all of us, I guess, is that we have to stay the course. There is no other way, and we have got to keep going.
True.
So now it's my opportunity to ask you a couple of questions, Nick.
Okay, wonderful.
One area that we have heard over and over today is that in nature, the transition to a nature-positive economy could unlock $10 trillion in business opportunities and create millions of jobs by 2030. On the other hand, if we don't do it right and we keep decimating nature the way they are doing, the trillions will work the other way around. Now, if you had to pick one lever, and this is coming after the last panel, that could truly move the needle to mobilize large-scale investments into nature-based solutions, what would you choose?
Okay, so I do have one lever, but I perhaps want to preface it with an explanation. Because we have a bit of a quandary. Half of the world's GDP is highly dependent or moderately dependent on nature. So you're looking at the infrastructure sector, you're looking at agriculture, you're looking at fisheries. Without nature, absent nature, no business. So it's an interesting that we're unable to mobilize the capital to secure nature. Now, Bruno, you talked about how much we need to ensure that we can, for nature-based solutions, 600, 800 billion a year, roughly, give or take. That includes the subsidies and the like. Currently, we deploy 20% of that. So there is a big gap. And so what is the solution? It sounds silly, doesn't it? But it's engaging with the ministries of finance. And Vivek, I started off my career in the Ministry of Finance.
I think there is a growing awareness on that clearly, and we were at the ASEAN Tourism Ministers Forum in December, and I managed to have side conversations with quite a few of them. And I think there is certainly a very high growing recognition, also because of the Kunming Montreal commitments, that it can't be just left at a high-level commitment, because I think Manuel spoke about it earlier today. We have got to have a plan to move forward on it. And this is where the levers that we have spoken about are just so critical. And I think we need to have the proactiveness to bring these to the table and have conversations around them to build it up. And I'm really struggling, Nick, because you have flown in all the way from Washington, D.C., and I cannot talk to you about geopolitics, and this is like really constraining, but we are a non-political organizations. We have got to stay focused on our purpose and our mission. And part of our mission is actually helping companies be on a pathway, identify pathway, find ways that they can move forward on it and make a difference. And one of the initiatives has been the Climate Business Network, where we work with companies to help them identify it, have a small group workshops, work with them, go all the way through their operations and make sure we are able to guide them on that, and not just stand outside and throw pebbles and stones at them. It is really about how we work together, so long as the intent is right on both sides. And I think it will be great if you could share with us a couple of examples, one at a macro level. How is that able to align things and move forward, as a group, as a coalition? And the second is perhaps at an individual company level. Any examples?
Yes. In 2014, WWF worked with a number of other NGOs, the World Resources Institute and the Rocky Mountain Institute specifically, to address a problem regarding renewable energy deployment. There was a big barrier between companies which came to us and said they wanted to increase the share of their energy from renewables and supply. And individually, they weren't really able to make a difference. And so we thought, could we create a platform which collectively, with a number of different companies participating, expressed through their purchasing power agreements and their leverage, their demand for renewable energy. And so that's what we did. In 2018, 2019, we spun that off. It was called the Renewable Energy Buyers Alliance. It's now the Clean Energy Buyers Alliance. And it has grown and grown and grown. 400 companies, 1/5 of Fortune 500, 20 trillion in market capitalization, Apple, Google, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, PepsiCo, Orsted, and others. Last year, 100 gigawatts energy from clean sources. And that's pretty massive. It's more than the peak energy demand of any US state, including California. And by the way, in 2014, it was 1 gigawatt. So we've grown it. It is also 41% of the clean energy added to the system since 2014 in the United States as a whole.
That's a wonderful example. I mean, that's 40% of more than 40% of the total energy. So when we work together, change at a scale is possible.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Now, you asked me in terms of the individual company story. Companies have told us it's difficult for them, in the political climate and so on and so forth. So they're not actually standing tall and making major pronouncements anymore. But behind the scenes, they're continuing with their efforts to decarbonize and address nature. And so they're seeking support and implementation, right? And they're seeking support as well in terms of this dual materiality between climate and nature to try and draw those puzzles together. We're working with many of the same companies who are part of SIBA, on this exercise, and we're very hopeful. Another key issue in terms of climate is this whole focus on resilience, and resilience in terms of supply chains, and resilience in terms of insetting resilience into their supply chains. And I think that's something they're coming to us and asking for support.
Fantastic.
Oh, there's a question for you. Now, somewhere. Okay, in a world that's moving towards more deregulation, increased skepticism regarding the environment, there are still some bright spots. Looking ahead, what opportunities do you, Vivek, see in Asia, and do you believe we and everyone else here must not miss?
To me, the biggest opportunity that I see is actually people. And I'm not saying this lightly. I can talk about many other numbers. The reality is that Asia now accounts for half of the greenhouse gas emissions. We can do a lot about it. We also know that 8 out of 10 most polluted cities in the world, where perhaps most of us will struggle to breathe, is in Asia. We also know that most of the worst vulnerable cities or habitats to climate change are also in Asia. And couple it with the economic challenges, you have got the number which, between the International Red Cross and WWF, we did a study where we found what is the impact if we are able to adopt nature-based solutions. And if we do, then the worst impact of climate change on the most vulnerable communities can be reduced by as much as 26%. Now you realize the 2 billion people who are in the front lines of climate change, 26% of that, you're talking about 500 million people. The world is struggling to deal with a few million refugees. If we have got to deal with 500 million climate refugees, is the world going to be able to cope? I don't think the answer is yes. And whether we are businesses, whether we are governments, if we don't pay attention to it now, that is going to be the reality. So just a few weeks ago, many of us from AP30 leadership team, we actually huddled together to talk about how do we build climate resilient communities. And we are not doing it alone. We are doing it in partnership with the Red Cross. So to me, the crux of it all is people, because people are employees, people are voters, and people are also our customers. And therefore, we better begin to pay attention to it beyond our supply chain. But there is also this question about disintermediation. And I'm using this term not lightly. This is what we use when there are different entities in an economic, in a commercial ecosystem, and one entity is worried, what about if they get disintermediated out of that value chain? I think we also need to pay attention to it. You heard from the students today, they are taking action. They are not waiting for people. They are going out there, they are tracking the carbon impact, they are taking action, they are stopping waste, they are embracing circular economy. And we were in Thailand, and there is this amazing experience. So WWF Thailand, working together with the community, has brought in different ways that the community can monetize the ecosystem without having to cut it down. This is to keep the trees alive rather than having them dead. Part of it is creating elephant poo paper. Have you heard of it? So elephant dung, working with the pineapple leaves rather than the fruits, and these are all organic waste, turning them into paper. And we were there doing that workshop, and we needed translators because we did not understand Thai, and they did not understand English. And here came this girl who was speaking in fluent English. And we were surprised. So I asked her, how come you know such good English? So she said she is a graduate from the local agricultural university, And instead of taking up a very well-paying job in Bangkok and in Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai, she decided to come back to her community so that she could help her community embrace the ways in which they can be economic resilient and make sure that they can look after the habitat that they call home. So look, communities and people are going to find ways to thrive. And if we as governments, as businesses want to be part of that journey, the time is now.
Good point.
Yeah. So now we have got only 3 minutes left. So closing thoughts, Nick, on how can we translate what we discussed today into action?
Okay. Manuel, he presented this morning the World Economic Forum's risk matrix for 2025. And it's a bit of a polarity there, right? On the one hand, 10-year risks, you have climate and biodiversity, risk number 1, risk number 2. And then the 2-year risk horizon, somewhat different. Okay, but it struck me that those particular risks are derivative risks of climate change and biodiversity loss. Let's look at those risks. Migration, conflict. The World Bank has estimated that in fragile states, some 70% of conflict derives from environmental mismanagement. That's true of Afghanistan, it's true of South Sudan. It's really an issue. And then, of course, extreme weather events. And so if we take our eye off the ball in terms of that 10-year risk horizon and focus only on the 2-year risk horizon, and I can tell you with all the headwinds we're facing, there's a real possibility that we might do that, politically and so on and so forth. We're going to see an amplification of those short-term risks in terms of the conflict, in terms of the weather, and more migration. And that is truly a dreadful thought. And so I think here we're speaking to people who are already converted to our cause. What we need to do is to get out there and speak to the skeptics. And that means we need to be looking at, amongst other things, nature, in terms of what it means for prosperity, what it means for stability, what it means for security, and what it means to individuals. And it's not just a matter of, presenting all of this with lots of data. It's storytelling. So we're going to need to have a new movement to bring more skeptics into the fold of nature, in the fold of climate change. And I think that is the task ahead. And I'm leaving this meeting sort of with a renewed energy to try and get after that particular problem.
That's the way.
How about you?
Okay, for me, a summit like this is a massive effort. And I have thanked our sponsors and our partners this morning, trade associations and chambers, Marina Bay Sands, Watson, Samsonite, everybody who came together. But there is one group of people we completely owe this to, because they have shown the resilience week after week, month after month, to bring this summit to fruition. So can I please request everyone who is a WWF Panda, a volunteer, our board members, to please just stand up and be recognized. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's keep building on this optimism, this resilience, so that we can all make the world a little bit better than where we found it. Thank you so much, and thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much, Vivek. There is a surprise that my team doesn't know. I told them that's a full surprise, but actually I told them half of the surprise, and we're going to finish with that and let you go, of course. But before I come to the surprise that I have in mind, I want to really thank all our partners, people running the booth on the left. You see a lot of pandas there on those panda t-shirts. Please support the campaigns that they are talking about for coral reef restoration. Give back your lanyards, because we believe in circularity. So you will see a box just outside this room to drop your lanyards so we can recycle and upcycle them for future events. Of course, we thank all our partners and supporters and all the pandas in the room. and at WWF, we say together possible. But I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to do it with all the pandas that Vivek just recognized. So can I please ask all the pandas to come near the stage here, whether you're a board member, you're a volunteer, your office. So can I please have all the pandas near the stage, please, to do the final roll call of the Earth Summit 2025. Your time starts now, wherever you are, 60 seconds near the stage. Every single person who has been a panda partner as well, I'm talking about corporate partners, NGO partners, event partners, board members, volunteers, we're going to do a final war cry for nature and climate. Wow, I knew I'll get half the room with that scope. Almost everybody, because the other half feels the fear of missing out, right? So I'm going to involve the other half of the room, because together we're going to do Together Possible, because WWF believes in the power of the collective and the power of together for solutions. So we're going to do 3 war cries of Together Possible on a count of 3, 2, 1. And of course, all the pandas and its partners and supporters, of course. Anyone else who wishes to join, of course, can. Or if you want to stand and do it from your tables, of course, you can. We're going to start with Together Possible, and you have to match the volume of this side of the room. Okay? So we're going to start with this side, the stage side of the room, to say Together Possible. Then I'm going to ask the rest of you to match the volume of this side of the room, and that's how we're going to do it. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Pandas on my side of the room. On a count of 3 to 1, you will say Together Possible. 3, 2, 1. Together Possible! Okay, that's not good enough. No, 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 no. I'm not going to let you go. That's not collective. That's not the panda power. Okay, better than this. Clear your throats. 3, 2, 1. Together Possible! Over to you. If you don't want to stand, you can keep sitting, but you have to match this, okay? Your turn. 3, 2, 1. I think we need a decider here, okay? Okay, I'll bother you one last time, okay? Final one-on-one match, like we started with the football match. Pandas, 3, 2, 1. Everybody else, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much. You have been an amazing audience, and we wish you the best, and we wish we can work together and more to protect our nature and climate. It's been amazing to be a host. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you next time.